The story of humanity, as we understand it, is a tapestry woven from countless threads of evidence, painstakingly pieced together over centuries. In the vast landscapes of the northeastern United States, for instance, mainstream archaeology tells a compelling story of early Native American tribes, their cultures, and their enduring legacy etched into the land. This narrative, built on solid foundations of research and discovery, provides a framework for our understanding of the continent's first peoples. It is a history we hold to be true, a map of the past that guides our present understanding. Yet, the Earth sometimes yields secrets that do not fit neatly into our established timelines. From the depths of a lakebed to the forgotten corners of ancient temples, artifacts and fossils emerge that seem to whisper of a different past, one far more complex and mysterious than we have ever imagined. These are not simple curiosities. They are profound anomalies that challenge the very bedrock of our historical and scientific consensus. They ask questions we are not yet equipped to answer, presenting a puzzle where the pieces themselves seem to belong to an entirely different box. What if our history books have missing pages, or even entire chapters? What if civilizations rose and fell in ways we have yet to comprehend? The discoveries we are about to explore are more than just academic debates. They are enigmas that have stumped the brightest minds. They hint at lost technologies, unknown life forms, and forgotten histories that could redefine our place in the timeline of the world. These are 5 discoveries that don't just confuse scientists, they threaten to rewrite history itself. Our journey begins not in some remote, unexplored jungle, but in the familiar landscape of New England. In 1872, during the simple act of digging a fence post near the shores of Lake Winnipesaukee in New Hampshire, a group of workers unearthed something extraordinary. It was a stone, but unlike any they had ever seen. Dark, smooth, and shaped like a small egg, it was covered in carvings of remarkable precision and strangeness. One side bore a human face, stark and abstract, while other symbols seemed to depict celestial bodies, a spiral galaxy, and even an ear of corn on a stalk. The mystery of this object, now known as the Lake Winnipesaukee Mystery Stone, deepens with every examination. The quality of the carving is simply astonishing. The holes bored through the stone from top to bottom are perfectly straight, a feat that would be challenging even with modern power tools, let alone the primitive tools believed to have been available to the region's historic tribes. The stone itself is a type of quartzite, not native to the immediate area, adding another layer to the puzzle of its origin. Who had the technology and the artistic vision to create such a thing? Mainstream archaeology has struggled to place the stone within any known cultural context. The local Pennacook tribes, while skilled artisans, have no known tradition of stone carving that remotely resembles this object. The symbols themselves are a confounding mix. The face is hauntingly unique, and the astronomical patterns suggest a sophisticated knowledge of the cosmos. Some have speculated it was a ceremonial object, a tool, or even a hoax, but no theory has managed to satisfactorily explain all its features. It remains a silent testament, an artifact out of time and place. The stone sits today in the New Hampshire Museum of History, its secrets locked within its dense, dark form. It challenges the narrative that early inhabitants of this region were limited to simple technologies. The precision, the symbolism, the very existence of the Winnipesaukee stone suggests a level of sophistication and a cultural perspective that has been lost to time. It forces us to ask, what other stories does this ancient land hold, and what other knowledge have we yet to rediscover from beneath our very feet? From a man-made mystery, we now turn to one crafted by nature itself, deep in the prehistoric past. The Mazon Creek fossil beds in Illinois are a treasure trove, preserving a snapshot of life from 300 million years ago. But in the 1950s, an amateur collector named Francis Tully discovered something that would baffle the scientific community for generations. It was the fossil of a creature so bizarre, so alien in its anatomy, that it defied all classification. It was, and is, known simply as the Tully monster. This creature was a biological paradox. It had a soft, segmented body, typically about a foot long. At one end, a long, flexible proboscis terminated in a claw-like structure filled with tiny, sharp teeth. At the other end, a tail with 2 horizontal fins provided propulsion, but perhaps its most peculiar feature was its eyes. They were not situated on its head, but rather at the ends of two long, rigid stalks, extending sideways from its body. It was a design for life that seemed to have been conceived in a fever dream, belonging to no known phylum. For over half a century, paleontologists debated its identity. Was it a mollusk like a snail, or a slug, an arthropod related to shrimp and insects, or perhaps some kind of primitive worm? The creature's unique combination of features didn't fit anywhere. Its teeth suggested it was a predator, but its body plan was an evolutionary dead end. It was so strange that for decades, scientists couldn't even agree on whether it was a vertebrate or an invertebrate, a fundamental division in the animal kingdom. A 2016 study proposed that the Tully monster was, in fact, a primitive vertebrate, a relative of the lamprey. This conclusion was based on the interpretation of a faint line in the fossil as a rudimentary backbone or notochord. However, this finding remains highly contentious, with other studies fiercely disputing it, arguing the evidence is weak and that the creature remains an invertebrate of unknown lineage. The Tully monster is a profound reminder that the story of life on Earth is not a simple, linear progression. It is a chaotic and experimental process, filled with strange forms and evolutionary paths that lead to nowhere, leaving behind fossils that challenge our very definition of what an animal can be. We travel now to the sands of Egypt, to a place steeped in one of the most well-documented histories on Earth. The Temple of Seti I at Abydos is a masterpiece of New Kingdom art and architecture, its walls covered in intricate hieroglyphs that tell the stories of gods and pharaohs. For centuries, these carvings were studied and translated, forming a cornerstone of our understanding of ancient Egyptian beliefs. But on one particular lintel, high above the ground, is a set of images that seems to belong more to the 20th century than the 13th century BC. Here, etched into the stone, are shapes that bear an uncanny resemblance to modern technology. One glyph looks remarkably like a helicopter, complete with a main rotor, a tail rotor, and a distinct fuselage. Beside it, another carving is easily interpreted as a futuristic submarine or perhaps a dirigible. Further along the panel, other shapes have been likened to advanced aircraft or even spacecraft. These images are not vague suggestions. To the modern eye, their similarity to our own flying machines is startling and undeniable. The mainstream Egyptological explanation is far more mundane, but also complex. It is proposed that these shapes are the result of a palimpsest, a process where an older set of hieroglyphs was plastered over and recarved with a new inscription by a later pharaoh. Over time, the plaster has eroded, causing the two sets of symbols to overlap, creating accidental shapes that we, with our modern knowledge, interpret as machines. For example, the helicopter is said to be a composite of the name and title of Seti, the first being overwritten with the name and title of his son, Rameses II. Yet for many, this explanation feels insufficient. The clarity of the shapes, particularly the helicopter, seems too perfect to be a mere coincidence of overlapping symbols. Why would this specific and small section of the temple be subject to such a convenient and pictorially specific erosion, while the surrounding hieroglyphs remain clear? The Abydos carvings have become a focal point for ancient astronaut theorists, who propose them as concrete evidence of advanced technological knowledge in the ancient world, perhaps bestowed by extraterrestrial visitors. Whatever the truth, these glyphs remain a powerful and persistent anomaly, challenging us to look again at what we think we know about the pharaohs and their world. Our next enigma is not carved in stone or preserved as a fossil, but written on paper. The Oeralinda book is a controversial manuscript that surfaced in the Netherlands in the 19th century. Written in a form of Old Frisian, it purports to be a chronicle of a lost civilization, a history stretching back thousands of years to 2194 BC. It tells the story of an ancient, advanced, and matriarchal society of seafaring people who supposedly inhabited northern Europe, a people they call the followers of the folkmother, Freya. The book's narrative is epic in scope. It describes a cataclysmic history, including the sinking of a land called Atland, which some have inevitably linked to Atlantis, and the subsequent migrations of the Frisian people across Europe and into Asia. It details their laws, their religious practices, and their social structure, all governed by a succession of wise folk mothers. The text even contains a unique alphabet and a complex calendar system. If authentic, the Ora Linda book would completely upend our understanding of European prehistory, suggesting the existence of a literate, highly organized civilization long before the Greeks or Romans. Almost immediately upon its publication in 1872, the book was decried by mainstream historians and linguists as a forgery, a 19th-century hoax. They pointed to anachronisms in the language, concepts that seemed too modern, and a nationalistic tone that fit suspiciously well with the romantic sentiments of the era. The creator of the hoax, they argued, was likely one of two men: the eccentric Cornelis over de Linden, in whose family the book was kept, or the Protestant preacher and poet Francois Haverschmidt, who had a known interest in Frisian lore. Despite this widespread academic dismissal, the Ora Linda book has refused to disappear. It was infamously adopted by some Nazi occultists in the 1930s, who saw it as proof of a pure Aryan heritage, a fact that has forever tainted its reputation. Yet, a small but persistent group of independent researchers continues to argue for its authenticity, or at least for the possibility that it is a copy of a much older, genuine document. They argue that the linguistic objections are not conclusive, and that the historical accounts, while fantastic, contain elements that warrant serious investigation. The Ora Linda book remains a pariah of the historical world, a document too incredible to be believed, yet too elaborate to be easily dismissed. Our final discovery takes us beneath the bustling streets of one of the world's most famous cities, London. The official history of London begins with the Romans, who founded Londinium around 43 AD. Before them, the area was believed to be sparsely populated rural land. But what if a much older, more sophisticated history lies buried deep beneath the Roman foundations? In recent decades, reports have surfaced from construction workers, engineers, and urban explorers of vast, unexplained, subterranean structures that defy this established timeline. These are not the familiar Roman ruins or Victorian sewers. The accounts describe immense chambers and tunnels carved directly from the bedrock with incredible precision. The walls are said to be smooth, the corners perfectly angled, and the scale far grander than any known ancient construction in the region. These structures are reportedly found at depths well below the Roman layer, suggesting they predate it by a significant margin. The purpose of these alleged chambers is a complete mystery. They don't appear to be tombs, temples, or dwellings in any conventional sense. The evidence for these structures is largely anecdotal, coming from personal testimonies and unverified photographs, which makes them easy for mainstream archaeology to dismiss. Access to these deep levels is rare, typically occurring only during major construction projects, and official documentation is almost non-existent. Skeptics argue that these are misidentified natural geological formations, abandoned modern construction projects, or simply urban legends. The lack of verifiable, peer-reviewed evidence keeps this mystery firmly in the realm of speculation. However, the consistency of the reports from different, unconnected sources over many years is intriguing. Some who claim to have seen these structures describe a type of stone and a style of masonry completely alien to any known British culture, ancient or modern. Could London be built upon the ruins of a forgotten prehistoric metropolis? Are there truly vast, empty halls sleeping beneath the city, remnants of a civilization that history has failed to record? Until one of these sites can be officially excavated and studied, the London subterranean structures remain a tantalizing whisper of a city beneath the city, a secret history hidden in the deep dark. The world we think we know is built upon the stories we tell ourselves, stories confirmed by the evidence we have found. But the Earth is an immense library, and we have read only a handful of its books. The Winnipesaukee Stone, the Tully Monster, the Abydos carvings, each is a loose page, ripped from a volume we have not yet discovered. They remind us that our narrative is incomplete, that history is not a finished manuscript but a living document, constantly being revised by each new discovery that bubbles up from the depths of time. These anomalies should not be seen as threats to our knowledge, but as invitations. They are invitations to question, to explore, and to remain humble in the face of the immense timescale of our planet's past. They demonstrate that nature, and perhaps humanity itself, has always been more creative, more bizarre, and more mysterious than we can possibly imagine. The simple fact that a creature like the Tully Monster could exist, or that a carving could so perfectly mimic a future technology, expands the very boundaries of what we consider possible. The quest for knowledge is humanity's greatest adventure. It is a journey that will never truly end. For with every question we answer, the universe presents us with a dozen more. The true story of our world is not just in the artifacts that fit our theories, but perhaps more so in the ones that shatter them. And it is in the patient and persistent exploration of these profound mysteries that we may one day come to understand the true, and almost certainly astonishing story of ourselves.